And just move.
It's too short.
Yeah, sure.
Good evening, Honorable Ministers. Good evening, Chief Secretary, members of the media. Welcome to this post-cabinet briefing. We'd like to apologize for the delay in starting the press conference. I will hand you over to the Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Swana.
Honorable Minister and Chair, Honorable Minister for Industry, Commerce, Dr. Nzenza, welcome members of our media to our briefing. So without wasting time, let me invite the Chair to make a post-cabinet briefing.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. Once again, I want to welcome you to our post-cabinet briefing. I do have my colleague minister here, Honorable Dr. Nzenza, on the issue of pharmaceuticals. Maybe if you have one or two questions at the end, I'll give you an opportunity. You know, we always have colleague ministers here, but because of COVID-19 protocols, it has not been possible, but we felt we would have Minister Nzenza today. So thank you very much once again, Chairperson Secretary. Today we had an update on Zimbabwe's response to the COVID-19 outbreak. Cabinet considered an update on the response to COVID-19 outbreak, and this was presented by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Professor Murwira, as the acting chairperson of the Interministerial Task Force on the COVID-19. Cabinet advises that as of 26 April 2021, Zimbabwe's cumulative COVID-19 cases stood at 38,102, with 35,149 recoveries and 1,560 deaths. The recovery rate stands at 92.2%, and we have got about 1,393 active cases at the moment. Law enforcement agents are intensifying efforts to curb the re-emergence of illegal transport operators. 17,727 arrests were made countrywide during the week under review for flouting the various lockdown regulations. This brings the total number of people arrested to 607,386. Cabinet was informed that investigations in Pumula, that is in Bulawayo, revealed that only 2 schools were affected and the rest were operating normally. This is to teacher attendance. Government reiterates that it will strictly apply the no work, no pay labor principle to all cases of teacher absenteeism. And the responsible ministry, which is the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, is compiled and submitted a list of teachers that did not conduct lessons in March to the Public Service Commission. They are in the process of compiling the list for this April of teachers who are not attending. Meanwhile, learner attendance across the country remained the same as recorded last week. As part of efforts to prevent a third wave of the COVID-19 outbreak, engagement of stakeholders and partners is being intensified with a view to pooling both human and financial resources for more effective responses. New strategies, including focused interventions and intensified community engagements, have been adopted. In light of infections experienced in schools, sub-national communication structures have intensified campaigns in COVID-19 hotspots and in cases where community infections are noted. Cabinet received a progress report on the procurement and rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. Cabinet received an update on the procurement and rollout of COVID-19 vaccines as presented by the Vice President and Minister of Health and Child Care, Honorable Vice President CGDN Chiwenga. As of 26 April 2021, a total of 353,834 people had received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and 57,776 received their second dose across the country. Cabinet wishes to assure citizens that they can receive their vaccination jabs anywhere in the country. This applies to the second vaccination dose as well. That is, people may be vaccinated at a location different from where they had their first jab, if they so wish. Regarding resources, it is advised that the Global Fund allocated $75 million to complement government efforts in the fight against COVID-19. The allocation is for 3 years, from 2021 to 2023. It should, however, be noted that government continues to provide resources from its own coffers for the COVID-19 response program, with 11 billion Zimbabwe dollars having been released since the onset of the outbreak. On a related matter, government efforts in refurbishing and upgrading health facilities are beginning to yield the desired results. Government is pleased to announce that Ekuseni Medical Center has been fully refurbished and will soon be officially open. Thorngrove Hospital was refurbished and upgraded to a 28-bed, fully equipped COVID-19 isolation center and is now admitting COVID-19 patients. The first ever orthopedic pediatric hospital and COVID-19 isolation center, based at United Bulawayo Hospital, is also said to be soon officially opened. The hospital will attend to children with various orthopedic conditions, including those with congenital deformities from all over the country. In a development set to revolutionize COVID-19 management, Cabinet adopted a proposal to set up a virtual hospital for the management of COVID-19 patients. This comes from the realization that most COVID-19 patients recover without symptoms or after experiencing mild ones, which do not require hospitalization. Government will establish a provisional figure of 10,000 to 20,000 home-based beds. A network of health staff will carry out protocol-based monitoring and management of the cases at home. The equipment support for this program is as follows: 1, rechargeable oxygen concentrators; 2, finger pulse or saturation monitors; 3, non-contact thermometers; 4, blood glucose testing machines; 5, blood pressure machines. The equipment will be deployed to the admitted patients and will be returned when that patient gets discharged. The establishment of the virtual hospital will therefore alleviate the pressure on hospitals. The public will be kept abreast of developments in this regard. Cabinet received a report on the 2021 second round crop and livestock assessment. The Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Settlement, Dr. Masuka, presented the 2021 second round crop and livestock assessment report, and this report was adopted by Cabinet. Government is pleased to report that Zimbabwe is set for a bumper harvest following the above normal rains which have been received across the country during the 2020-2021 summer season. This is notwithstanding the fact that the season terminated prematurely for almost all the country's districts, and that some southern and central parts experienced wet spells in December and January. This caused nutrient leaching in most crops. Highlights of the crop output projections are as follows. When it comes to maize production, it is estimated that 2.7 million metric tons, which is 199% higher than the 2019-2020 season. Then under traditional grains production, we are projecting 347,968 metric tons, which is 128% more than the 152,515 metric ton output of the previous season. The total cereal production is 3,075,538 metric tons, against a national cereal requirement of 1,797,435 metric tons for our human consumption and about 450,000 metric tons for livestock. When it comes to cotton production, it is estimated we are estimating to produce 195,991 metric tons in this 2020-2021 season, and this is a 94% increase from the 101,000 metric tons which was produced in 2019-2020 season. Tobacco production is estimated to increase by 8% to 200,245 metric tons from 184,000 metric tons in 2019-2020 season. Soybean production is expected to increase by 51% to 71,290 metric tons from 47,088 metric tons last year. Sweet potato production is estimated to increase by 269%, and sugar beans production is also estimated to increase by 142%, and groundnuts by 139%. The assessment further indicates that while the livestock situation still requires attention, there has been a marked improvement in the state of affairs. The national beef cattle herd increased from 5,443,770,000 cattle in the previous season to 5,478,648 this season. And average national cattle mortality rate decreased from 12% in 2019 to 4.2% in 2020. And this was due to improved disease control efforts, such as from the Presidential Tick Grease Scheme, and improved nutrition due to the good rainy season. Farmers are able to go and collect their tick grease allocation from their local GNB depots. On egg production is increasing, reaching a new high of 59.3 million dozens in 2020, surpassing the 2019 production by 18%, which was 50.4 million dozens, and 7% higher than the previous record of 55.3 million in 2016. Cabinet takes this opportunity to reassure the nation that every effort is being made to ensure minimal post-harvest losses with local preservation methods, harvesting support, and markets being procured for the benefit of our farmers. The public is urged to remain in constant touch with their extension officers for any necessary support. Cabinet received an update on preparations for the 2021 winter wheat production season. Cabinet received and approved an update on preparations for the 2021 winter season production season as presented by the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Settlement, Honorable Dr. Masuka. The nation is advised that out of the original target of 75,000 hectares for planting wheat, 68,184 hectares are now available for the three schemes which support production, namely, there's the CBZ Agro Yield, then there's the Food Crop Contractors, and Presidential Wheat Support Scheme, as we compare to a total of 44,600 hectares which were contracted for the whole season last year. The ongoing contracting of farmers has been enhanced by the use of information communication technologies, starting with the provision of electronic gadgets to extension officers. The provision of inputs is better than previous seasons, with all inputs for the private sector contracted hectare having been secured and distributed. Distribution is actually in progress. The 27,000 metric tons of basal fertilizer, 25,999 metric tons of top dressing fertilizer, and 7,450 metric tons of wheat seed required for the CBZ Agro Yield program are available, with 3,302 metric tons of basal fertilizer and 2,783 metric tons of top dressing having been already distributed. Then for the Presidential Winter Wheat Scheme, seed and fertilizer supply contracts for the 10,000 hectares are being processed. Regarding electricity and water supply, the nation is assured that sufficient supplies are available to meet planting requirements, with the water level in Kariba double that at the same time last year. A high-level key stakeholders task force has been established to ensure availability of these critical enablers. And ZINWA has already held a successful stakeholders meeting ahead of the winter season. According to the season is expected, supported by a robust monitoring and evaluation framework, capacitated extension workers, and supplemented by weekly meetings of contractors and government. Cabinet also received the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Strategy in Zimbabwe 2021 to 2025. Cabinet considered and approved the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Strategy in Zimbabwe 2021-2025, and this was presented by the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development, Honorable Professor Murgira, as Chairman of the Combined Cabinet Committee on Science and Technology Development and Application, and that of Industrialization and Export Development. Cabinet acknowledged that the major challenge bedeviling the pharmaceutical sector was low production as a result of use of obsolete and antiquated equipment, cumbersome registration procedures, and limited innovation. Implementation of the Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Strategy will not only resolve these bottlenecks, but will also result in increased production of essential medicines for both domestic and export markets. The objective of this strategy include the following. First, to increase the market share of local pharmaceutical products from the current 12% to 35% by 2025. Secondly, to increase local production of essential medicines from US 31.5 million to US 150 million by 2025. Then thirdly, to increase local production of essential medicines from 30% to 60% again by 2025. And fourthly, is to improve exports of pharmaceutical products from 10% to 25% by 2025. The following measures will be employed in order for the pharmaceutical sector to meet the set objectives. 1, increased production. 2, enhancement of competitiveness. 3, market expansion. 4, production diversification. 5, export development. 6, improved ease of doing business. And finally, 7, mobilization of the required financial resources. In order to increase production, government institutions and hospitals will be encouraged to procure pharmaceutical products from the local manufacturers in line with the local content strategy. Competitiveness of the local pharmaceutical industry will be achieved through such measures as the use of raw materials that are exempted from import duties as well as value-added tax deferment. NATFAM will increase its capacity to procure locally manufactured pharmaceutical products. Furthermore, the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe will be capacitated to ensure faster registration of pharmaceutical products and to develop a program on plant refurbishments and upgrading and improvements in quality management systems. This will ensure that the local manufacturers comply with international pharmaceutical manufacturing quality standards and enhance competitiveness locally and internationally. Government, in collaboration with local industry, will also push for the elimination of non-tariff barriers in order to promote export development. The pharmaceutical manufacturing strategy, the first one in the history of Zimbabwe, is envisaged to facilitate the growth of the sector and guarantee affordable medicines for our citizens. I thank you for listening, and this brings us to the end of the post-briefing, cabinet briefing today. Chief Secretary.
Chair, we now ask you to pause 1 or 2 questions. Chair, what is your takeaway?
Well, this we have one minister, so maybe just the three questions.
One session.
Mm.
Possibly 4. So any relating to the presentation of pharmaceutical strategy. Any offers? Yes, please.
Just to ask
So as usual, we know your name, but
just ask the Minister of Industry, is there any thought of Zimbabwe producing or venturing into the COVID-19 vaccine, since you're depending on the importation of the vaccines and everything, and they speak so well of expanding the pharmaceutical industry? Are we in any way thinking along the lines of having our own vaccine produced for Africa or for Zimbabwe?
okay. Any other volunteer? We're not going to have a second round, so it'll be right. I mean, yes, please.
Recently, we've seen as part of the COVID-19 cases. Would you like to share with us what was the reason for it?
Any other intervention? Please, this is the ladies. No volunteer. There is no second chance, as I said. We were bringing me through. Yes, please.
All right, thank you. Takon Chiambak from Papers TV. Seeing that the pharmaceutical area is very technical and scientific area, what are you doing in terms of setting up structures to facilitate for scientific research to be held? Yes, we might want to see the increments by 2025 as projected, but I did not hear the full details on the technical aspects. What's being done now to achieve those things in 2025?
Okay. Last one.
That's it.
Okay, then that's it. Over to you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. And we'll be trying to bring all my colleague ministers to answer some of your questions. As you can see, she's here to answer all the pharmaceuticals, and the questions should pertain to pharmaceuticals. The first question is whether Zimbabwe is actually venturing into producing COVID-19 vaccination. That was from the Sun. Are we thinking in those lines? I think that was his question. Minister?
I want to thank you, Chair, and thank the journalist for that particular answer. Thank you, Chair, for that question. The Cabinet Committee on Science, Technology, Development is part of an interministerial task force that also is co-chaired by myself as Minister of Industry and Commerce. What we presented today is the first ever in Zimbabwe pharmaceutical strategy of 2021 to 2025. And key priority in that strategy is collaboration between the 9 ministries: Ministry of Health, Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology, and Ministry of Industry. And what we've done is to embrace what we are calling the triple helix model. And what it means is a more concerted effort towards research and innovation. And I want to combine your question with that, I think that was Takon Chiambak when he asked about the technical and scientific research. And once again, there will be a collaborative approach with the 9 ministries, the stakeholders, as well as the private sector. And our main aim is to achieve this through competitiveness, availability, and affordability of locally manufactured medicines. And this will result the result will be a viable, vibrant pharmaceutical industry, which is strategically positioned to compete in the global value chain of the whole pharmaceutical industry. I also just want to add, Chair, that as part of the research and innovation, we will be looking into research of traditional medicines. And as you probably know, with the COVID-19, there's been a lot of talk about Zumani. So Zumani is just one of the traditional herbal plants in Zimbabwe, which already the Ministry of Higher Education is looking into. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Dr. Nzenza, for that. So maybe you want to take Takus Chambakwe's question. He said he didn't hear much about the technical, the scientific research technical measures put in place by government, since pharmaceuticals is very technical.
Thank you once again, Chaku. Our approach is the collaboration between Ministry of Industry and Commerce and the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology. What we have not done yet, which is going to happen, is to launch this strategy. And after launching it, then there will be the implementation, which will be in alignment with the National Development Strategy and focusing very strongly on innovation and technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Costa, you wanted to know what has caused the spike of COVID-19. For details, you can always contact us and can pass it through to the Minister of Health and Childcare. But just to let you know that, to let the nation know that in the last 2 weeks, actually, the spike has been actually in schools. And the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, together with the Ministry of Health and Childcare, they've actually been upping their game in terms of the SOPs, that is the standard operating procedures, which have been put in the schools to make sure that there's social distancing, to make sure that they're adhering to all the protocols which have been put into place. And also they have actually managed to isolate the cases, and we are seeing our numbers once again going down. I thank you. Chief Secretary, we're done.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the Chair, as usual, for the comprehensive question.